Here we have a student who got suspended from university, not for cheating in an exam or plagiarism or other serious academic misconduct, but for making satirical blog posts online. How could this be? Well, this is the case of a student at the University of Delaware. This case turned into a major free speech legal battle. I will cover this case in this video. First, I will present the key facts of this case, then move on to my analysis. This case dates back to 2007 when Maciej Murakowski was studying computer science at the University of Delaware. Maciej ran a personal blog hosted on the university's servers. On it, he posted satirical essays and fictional movie reviews. Some of the content was meant to be shocking. It included sexually graphic passages and highly offensive jokes. The university reacted strongly. Maciej was suspended, banned from the dorms and classes, and was even required to undergo a psychiatric evaluation before he could return. As the university put it, his writings were sexually graphic, hostile, and violent, including racist, sexist, anti-Semitic, and homophobic statements. From the university's perspective, this was hostile and dangerous material, but Maciej pushed back. He insisted that his writings were clearly satirical and fictional, offensive, yes, but no actual threats. He argued the university had violated his First Amendment right to free speech, so he sued the University of Delaware. In 2008, the case went to the U.S. District Court for the District of Delaware. The judge ruled in the students' favor. And here's why. The university had never shown that Maciej's blog actually caused any real disruption on campus. The stuff that he published in his blog was offensive, yes, but disruptive? No. There was no evidence for that. Additionally, the suspension functioned as a prior restraint, not just punishment for what he had already written and published, but a way of silencing him going forward by banning him from campus and conditioning his return on a psychiatric evaluation. This was problematic. Courts are especially concerned about this kind of censorship because it blocks speech before it even happens. Maciej was punished not only for what he had already done, but also for what he might do. Moreover, the court found that psychiatric requirement itself to be troubling, since it was tied directly to his protected speech. The court ruling made it clear, even offensive or disturbing speech remains protected unless it amounts to a true threat or creates a substantial disruption. So, the suspension was deemed unconstitutional. However, Maciej did not walk away with a big payout. Instead, the judge awarded him only $10 in nominal damages, a symbolic amount. Courts sometimes award just $1 in cases like this, but here it was 10. The judge explained that this was enough to mark the violation of his rights, but not to suggest that he had suffered significant harm. In other words, yes, his rights were violated and he won the case, but his victory was largely symbolic. Now let's move on to my analysis, which is just my opinion. There are a few points in this case that I think are noteworthy. First, this case shows how offensive speech is not the same as threatening or disruptive speech. Universities sometimes might confuse the two. Courts, however, draw a clear line. If the speech is not a true threat or harassment, if it does not cause actual disruptions, it stays protected. Second, this case has some similarities to the Amanda Tetral case which we covered earlier. Both involved students who made shocking or offensive comments, both faced university discipline, and both ended up testing the limits of free speech in higher education. But there are also some key differences between these two cases. In the Tetral case, the Minnesota Supreme Court carved out a professionalism exception for students in professional programs, where the student was being trained for a specialized profession, where they had to sign a written agreement agreeing to the program's relevant rules and regulations. In this Maciej's case, there was no professional program contract. He was not being trained or educated for a specialized, licensed profession, so the court gave maximum protection under the First Amendment. Item number 3. This case illustrates an important issue and question for universities. Where should they draw the line? If universities act too quickly to punish speech that is offensive but not threatening, they risk losing in the court and losing credibility. But on the other hand, if they hesitate or fail to act when speech escalates into genuine threats, harassment, and disruption, thereby creating a hostile and dangerous environment, they risk being accused of negligence and failing to protect their community. Universities constantly have to navigate this tension, protecting free speech while also ensuring safety and inclusivity on campus. This is a tricky and difficult balance. And finally, for students, the lesson here is also a tricky one. Yes, you have the right to free speech, and being offensive is not illegal, but that doesn't mean you are free from consequences. You might win in court, but as this case shows, you might only walk away with $10 and a record of conflict with your university, which may not bode well for future employers. So here, a balance also needs to be struck. So these are my thoughts and analysis on the case of Maciej Murakowski. What do you think about this case? I invite you to leave your thoughts and comments down below. On my channel and specifically in this playlist, we will cover more cases involving academic misconduct, academic disputes and lawsuits, and other higher education controversies. If you find these topics interesting, please stay tuned. Thanks for watching this random video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.